Is that Tier Elements and Danger, well, Dark World in general, actually making an appearance? Yeah, it would appear so. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So what in the world happened out here for the Colombia Regional? Well, let me tell you, this breakdown is pretty cool, actually. So we had 3 Cashtira decks being the most represented deck in the room. At this point in time, nothing surprises me at this stage. I'm actually very happy to see that the generalized results for that are about what we would really expect at this point. It's the new best deck in the room, you know, but it's not that it's unbeatable. That's the good thing right now. We also have one Naturia Runic deck. Now, Naturia Runic actually won the event here. Now, obviously, being able to put, you know, power cards on your opponent, having the defensive options to protect those relatively big investments is going to be the reason why you're going to see this deck kind of still be the menace that it is in the current format. And I think a lot of people are they're really gonna discount this deck for what it is, but I'm very impressed to see that. Now, we also had Dark World in the top cut, and we do have that list for you guys. And like I said, between Squiddy running it back for like a 7-2 finish out of the YCS and seeing that Dark World is making splashes out here at a regional, like, the Dark World, so many people, including myself, are like, you know, this deck is essentially dead at this point. Well, it doesn't appear to be that way. We also had an Exo Sister deck. I think that's a pretty big surprise there, considering that the graveyard is pretty much non-existent at this stage in the current meta. We also had a Sprite deck. No real surprise there. I mean, so many people are genuinely trying to find ways to get that deck to evolve. And then we have Tier Elements limping on in here going, we're still doing things, guys. We promise you, we're still a metagame contender out here. And yeah, it's rough seeing what shape this deck has been reduced to in the long run, but I'm still happy to see that it did get a showing here. So let's pass on over to these top deck lists. Alright, so this is going to be your Sprite deck to start things off here, and we are playing the Cyverse Gadget Shenanigans, and we're also playing the Soul Scissors as well. I mean, you gotta really love, like, all the level 2 options that you can actually kind of pack into this deck and actually have it work itself out at the end of the day. Like, it's genuinely pretty impressive. Also, this card being able to, you know, essentially set up for full combo is pretty good. So you have the triple Ash Blossom and Joy Spring with 2 copies of good old Cyverse Gadget. We have the one Eye Priya with triple copies of Space Rock. We have 2 copies of Nimble Angler with triple copies of the Nimble BB. We have 1 Soul Scissors with triple copies of Sprite Blue. We have the 1 Sprite Carrot with the triple Sprite Jet with 1 Pixies. Glad to see Pixies is getting some love again. We have 2 copies of Sprite Red and triple copies of Swappy Froggy. Then we have 1 Called by the Grave with your 1 Change of Heart with your 1 Econ. Then we have 1 Feather Duster, 1 Gamma Burst with 1 Smashers. We have triple copies of Starter with 1 Talents. And then we have triple Imperm and 1 copy of the Double Cross. Down in your extra deck, you have the 2 Sprint. We're actually playing 1 Coral Anemone. That's kind of interesting. We have 1 Lingaribo with 1 Nightmare Phoenix with 1 Nightmare Cerberus. Then we have 1 DeHark with 1 Totally Awesome. 1 Soul Sweeper with 1 Djinn Buster. We have the 1 Ninja Shadow Mosquito. 2 Gigantic Sprites with your 1 Downer Magician and your 1 Zeus. And inside deck here is 1 Baldrake, 1 Druis Worm with 1 Magna Hut, your 1 Red Resonator, and then we're playing 1 copy of Book of a Lunar Eclipse. So you'll be able to see at least 1 of these. I'm surprised they didn't opt for more, but like, with how weird some of these ratios are, this is perfectly fine. We have 1 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Dark Ruler, 1 Raigeki, 1 Twin Twisters, 2 Anti-Spell, 2 Dimensional Barrier, and 2 copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up your take on Sprite, and the fact that, you know, Cyverse Gadget here is just going to be essential full combo for this deck. Like I said, it's kind of cool at the end of the day, so tend to not see a lot of, like, interesting ratios really out here. But alright, next up is our Danger... Yeah, our Danger Dark World deck. Hi, Bigfoot. How are you? I'm glad to see that you're doing well, and I'm actually very shocked to see that we're playing Fabled Raven out here. Now, that means we're also playing Groza, the Tyrant of Thunder. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, and target 1 effect monster on the field, discard 1 monster. If you do, negate that monster's effects till the end of the turn. Oh boy, so this gives us defensive options here to discard a Bigfoot. Discard a Bigfoot. And if a fiend monster is sent from the hand of the graveyard, you can apply 1 of these effects this turn, the following effects to this card. So this thing can't be destroyed by battle, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, or your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Okay, I mean, you get 1 protection ability, but That's pretty interesting. So we have 1 copy of Beige, triple copies of Brow. We have 2 copies of Bigfoot. We have 1 Mothman, your triple Nessie, with your 1 Jackalope. We have 2 copies of Fabled Raven with triple copies of Genta. We have triple copies of Big Ol' Angry Grapha Friend. Then we have 2 copies of Rainbow, 1 Silva with triple copies of Snow. We also have triple copies of Lure of Darkness, your 1 Card Destruction, 2 Ascension with 1 copy of Archives, 2 Drag Down. It's actually kind of impressive too. We have 1 Foolish Barrel with 2 Droplet, 2 Gates, and 1 Skill Drain here. 1 singular Skill Drain, yeah, actually worked out. Pretty impressed about that. We also have 1 Saruja with 1 Lambda, 1 Unicorn with 1 IP. We have 1 Appaloosa with 1 Dugaris, 1 Baguski with 1 Hope Harbinger. We have 1 Zombie Stein with 1 Gimmick Puppet. We have 1 Coach King, 1 Omega with 1 Groza. We have 2 copies of Big Ol' Grapha. Side deck here we have triple copies of Droll and Lockbird, triple Lava Golem with triple copies of Gamma, 1 Driver, 1 Called By, 2 Twin Twisters, and 2 copies of good old Skill Drain here, wrapping up the particulars for the Dark World deck. Like I said, definitely some of the more interesting stuff out here that we've seen. Next up here we have Exosister. Oh boy, Zoroa is actually seeing some play. I'm actually very happy to see that, like, the Majesty's package is kind of extending out, because honestly in this format where the graveyard not being as crazy of a resource as it was, because considering, you know, Cashier is kind of driving the boat around, sucking up everything out of the graveyard, no fun allowed, as they say out here, this does give you some interesting options to allow this deck to make some other lines of play. Just kind of good. I'll see that we're not playing Zeus down here in the extra deck. That in itself is pretty impressive too. So we have triple copies of Martha. We have triple copies of Ellis with triple copies of Stella. And then we have triple copies of Sophia, and then 2 copies of Irene. And then we have triple copies of Dimension Shifter, triple copies of DD Crow, triple copies of Ash Blossom, and we have triple copies of Zoroa. Then we have triple copies of Pax, 1 copy of Carpe Diem, 1 Monster Reborn with 1 Call by the Grave. We also have triple Vadis, 2 copies of Returnia, and triple copies of Infinite Permanence here. Down here in the extra deck, we have 1 copy of the Iwas, 1 Artemis with 1 Vahram, and 1 copy of Zoroa, the Calamity. And then, of course, we have 1 copy of the Ninarani, 2 copies of Jabrim, 1 Osophiel. We have 2 copies of Caspitiel, triple copies of Nikiles, and 2 copies of Magnifica. Then we got the triple Droll and Lockbird, triple Dimensional Barrier, triple copies of Evenly Matched, triple Dark World and No More, 1 Arby's Feather Duster, and 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone here, wrapping up your very interesting take on Exosister. It is very nice to see the different lines of innovation that are kind of starting to creep up here for this deck. It really shows that different ideas are starting to show through the cracks, and I do hope that this does become a norm, that we can see more ideas like this actually work out. And the last deck we have for you is Tier Elements with the King of the Swamps. You know, I know a lot of people have been trying to find ways to get this to work. A lot of people are really limping out here. Honestly, this is the first successful variation that I've seen out here, and this is going to take from some of the OCG, you know, ideas here. Thank you for all of our pieces getting limited to 1 on the last list. And, you know, especially with Bysteals being cut back in this format, this deck definitely showing back up here. So we have 1 copy of Agido, 2 copies of Nessie with 1 copy of the Jackalope. We have 2 copies of Diviner of the Herald with 1 copy of the Hellshadal Hollow. We have 2 copies of Fenrir with 1 copy of Kelbeck. We have triple copies of King of the Swamp, triple copies of Space Rock. We have 1 Shadal Beast with 1 Havness. We have triple copies of the Tier Elements Kashiro with 1 Merly. We have triple copies of Reno Heart and 1 Shayra. Then we have 1 copy of Foolish Barrel, 2 copies of Foolish Barrel Goods with 1 copy of Polymerization. We have 1 Raceloth, 2 Paralenia, 1 Grief, and then 2 copies of Scream. Then we have 1 Terraforming with your 1 Crime, 1 Meta Noise, and 2 Solic. And then we have 1 copy of the Underworld Goddess, 1 IAP with 1 Dahark, 1 Cross Sheep with 1 Blackluster Soldier, 1 Time Thief Redoer, 1 Exiton Knight with 1 Zeus. We have 1 Baron with 1 Rukalos, 1 Kaleido Heart, 1 Dragostepelia, 1 Mudmud, 1 Garuda, and 1 Winda. And then, of course, we have 2 Lava Golem, 1 copy of Anoetalis, 1 Change of Heart with 2 copies Lightning Storm, triple Shadal Fusion, 2 Talents, triple Dimensional Barrier, and 1 Evenly Matched here. Wrapping up, well, your chunk of info out of this regional. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.